Hi everyone! Welcome back to our YouTube channel. This is Tammy and I want to greet everyone a wonderful day today. I hope everyone is doing fine and doing great wherever you are, and of course, I hope everyone is safe. I'll give you an update about the Singapore economy despite the rate of the US dollar getting high right now. And yes, the economy growth in this year's second quarter might be low. However, economies are expecting them to grow by the end of the third quarter next year. And the example for these are the manufacturing, construction, wholesales, and retail industries, accommodation, and food services. And these are expected to expand by the next year by 2.8% approximately. So today I'm going to talk about what are the taxable and non-taxable income in Singapore. Many are planning to enter the Singapore market, and so it is very important to know which incomes are taxable and non-taxables. So if you are interested, please listen because this might be very helpful to you. So, okay, what is taxable and non-taxable? Let me explain first what is taxable, okay? For example, if your company is received in Singapore from outside Singapore, okay, for example, the income from a business carried on in Singapore is regarded as accrued in or derived from Singapore, then you have to pay the tax. Yes, you heard it right. You have to pay the tax. And these are for Singapore tax purposes. Taxable income refers to gains and profits from any trade business. Income from investment, such as dividends, interest, and rentals. There are also royalties, premiums, and other profits from the property, other gains that are revenue in the nature. You can also reduce your taxable income by deducting things such as business expenses, capital allowances, and reliefs can be claimed to reduce your taxable income. And this will lead to lower taxes. So if you think that your tax is very high, then I suggest you do this so that your tax will become low. So that's a big thing because you still have a choice. Like, there is still a solution if you want to lower down your tax. Yeah. So what about the income received in Singapore from outside Singapore? Income from outside Singapore is considered received in Singapore when it is remitted to Singapore or transmitted or brought in the country. Okay? Some will also be used to satisfy any debt incurred in respect of a trade or business carried on in Singapore, or used to purchase any movable property such as equipment, raw materials, and other things similar to those that will be brought into Singapore for business purposes. On the other hand, it is also applied to tax foreign income received in Singapore only if the income belongs to an individual who is resident in Singapore or an entity that is located in Singapore according to the law. Okay? So what's good news for those non-resident individuals and foreign businesses? Okay? Is if they are not operating in or from Singapore, they can remit their foreign income tax to Singapore without being taxed on the income. Yes, if the foreign source income is a subject to tax in Singapore and overseas, tax reliefs may be available to alleviate the double taxation suffered. But, you know, what are the tax reliefs? Okay, going back. Okay, so again, foreign income refers to income derived from outside Singapore. Generally, such income is taxable in Singapore when remitted to and received in Singapore, remember? Where the foreign income arises from a trade or business carried on in Singapore. It is taxable in Singapore upon accrual regardless of whether it is received in Singapore, right? Therefore, in many cases, foreign income is taxed twice. Yes, that's the sad truth. It will be taxed once in the foreign jurisdiction and the second time in Singapore. But there are tax reliefs available to Singapore tax residents to alleviate the double taxation suffered, such as exemption, a reduction in tax imposed on specified foreign income that is derived in a jurisdiction that has an avoidance of double taxation agreement with Singapore. And then there is also a tax exemption on specified foreign source income such as foreign source dividends, foreign branch profits, and foreign source service income. Okay, and foreign tax credit for the taxes paid in the foreign jurisdiction against the Singapore tax payable on the same income. So these are the taxable income in Singapore. But what about the non-taxable? Okay, so now we're going to talk about the non-taxable. Many of you are curious. What is the income that doesn't need to pay tax? Okay, I will mention all those non-taxable income like the capital gains. And what are the capital gains? These are the gains on sales of fixed assets, gains on foreign exchange on capital transactions. There is also income exempted from tax. Certain types of income are specifically exempted from tax, but these are subject to conditions. And these include certain shipping income derived by a shipping company, foreign source dividends, branch profits and service income received by a residence company, gains derived by company on disposal of equity investment. Okay, so those I mentioned are all in the law of Singapore, which you can find in their government website. Okay, so those are the non-taxable income. Okay, so I hope I was make myself clear when I explained the taxable and non-taxable. So now let's move on to the frequent asked questions regarding taxable and non-taxables. Okay, now that I hope you understand what is taxable income and non-taxable income, there are a few frequent questions some may have. Okay, and I hope I can explain it here today. But if you have any question, you can feel free to message us or leave a comment. Your company received donations. Are the donations taxable? Are expenses incurred to generate the donations tax deductible? If the donations are not voluntary gifts and are paid in return for benefits granted by the receiving organization, they are business receipts and constitute income that is taxable in the hands of the recipient. So yes, it's taxable in the hands of the recipient. Is income derived from the sale of carbon credits taxable? Okay. General income tax principles will apply to determine whether the income arising from the sale of carbon credits is taxable. This will depend on the facts and circumstances of each case. For a company trading its carbon credits, income arising from such trade will be regarded as revenue in nature. Where a company has purchased carbon credits for its business use, but sells the credits thereafter, the income derived will be considered as part and parcel of the company's business income and hence it's taxable. Okay, now, there is also taxable income received in Singapore from outside Singapore, and one of the most frequent questions is foreign source income that is kept offshore and used for payment of unpaid tax-exempt dividends into the offshore bank account of my company shareholders considered received in Singapore and subject to tax? No. Okay, it's not. The foreign source offshore income used by our company, I mean by your company in this manner, does not constitute income received in Singapore from outside Singapore and is not taxable. So don't worry, it is not. This is subject to the condition that the one-tier tax-exempt dividend is paid directly into the shareholder's offshore bank account and does not involve any physical remittance, transmission, or bringing of funds into Singapore by your company for the dividends payment. So there's another question. What is the amount of foreign source income taxable if the income is applied to purchase any movable property which is brought into Singapore? Okay. The amount of foreign income that is applied to acquire the asset is taxable, and not the asset's net book value or market value at the time the asset was brought in Singapore. And there are a lot more questions that you can actually find in Singapore website of yes, so it's not taxable. So there. So these are some of the few of the frequent asked questions that people may have. And now, if you have any questions, you may email us or just leave a comment below. And there are a lot of more questions that you can actually find in the Singapore website of Singapore. All information that I have already shared is researched through the Singapore government websites as well. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to message us. Okay, and that's it for today, everyone. Thank you for listening, and I hope everyone have a great day ahead.